Story 1. As a British citizen, I fully support it. We should make America feel the consequences. If they choose to act like bullies and impose unreasonable tariffs whenever President Trump feels offended, we should respond with the same lack of respect they exhibit towards the rest of the world. We do not need America. They are a sinking ship, and I do not want my country to go down with them. Story 2. I am completely on board and have stopped purchasing any American products. Even if I cannot find a European Union product, I try to find one made in Asia, Canada, or Latin America. Story 3. I am 100% behind it. I think most people, especially Americans, underestimate how significant this is becoming. Some say these movements rarely last long, but this feels very different. I was with my extended family yesterday, who are mostly indifferent to politics and rarely watch the news. They were discussing the boycott as if it were the weather. Also, a reminder that French wine production never fully recovered from the boycott of the 1990s due to nuclear testing. This is much, much bigger than a consumer boycott. I believe there is a good chance that America will be a regional power within a decade. Story 4. I was never very dependent on American products, but it is really hard to leave Microsoft. Our entire government sector would have to advocate for something like OpenDesk. However, it does not have the capabilities of Microsoft Office 365. Story 5. I am an American who has emigrated to Australia. Considering what the current administration is doing, the world needs to take action and show them some reality. I am buying local Australian products when I can and looking for non-American alternatives. If the United States is going to treat long-standing allies this way, other nations need to respond accordingly. We are all neighbors on this small planet. Let's act like it. Story 6. The world needs a major detox from the United States. Consuming what you can from the European Union is a great option, which will progressively improve. This includes services, arts, and media. Story 7. Most of us have been doing this for a long time. It's not that we were avoiding products from outside Europe, but we have good or better alternatives for almost anything. Of course, there are some services outside Europe that are exceptional, but I don't believe there is anything critical that we cannot live without. Story 8. I am neither from America nor the European Union, but my buying preferences, especially regarding groceries, have always leaned towards the European Union because they have stricter and more transparent regulations concerning food. Story 9. Local stores have marked European Union goods with a star. I like it. However, they should also include Asia, South America, Africa, Australia, and North America, excluding the United States. Story 10. The United States needs to take a step back and calm down for a decade or so before returning to engage in serious discussions. Story 11. I was browsing for a nice red wine last Friday when I came upon the American section. I thought to myself that I wouldn't even consider buying from there. Story 12. Except for Microsoft and Google, which I use often for work, I think it's pretty neat. I hope that the alternatives can become better. For example, Proton Drive has the potential to compete with Google Drive and OneDrive, but it is still in development. Story 13. I am British, so while I am not specifically looking for European Union products to buy, I am trying to avoid purchasing American-owned products and choosing local alternatives instead. It is relatively easy to do this with food, but I will have to give up certain branded items. Story 14. The problem isn't food or drink, as I've never really enjoyed American products. I did love a fizzy drink, but went off Coca-Cola years ago as it made my teeth feel sticky. The main issue is the internet services. People are running around saying, "Look at me, I got rid of Amazon, YouTube, Gmail, etc." However, they are not replacing those services with like-for-like products. This is where buying from Europe is failing. You can't expect people to replace anything with inferior and inconvenient products. I had someone tell me we should support local bookshops instead of Amazon. That's all very well and good if you live in a town, but I spend half the year in the Apuan Alps. My nearest decent bookshop is 60 kilometers away, so a casual browse is out of the question. For example, Lemmy is being touted as a replacement for Reddit, but it's not. It seems to suffer like every other decentralized app from poor user uptake. Personally, I think we should take a page out of the Chinese playbook and just copy and replace models that work. Story 15. As an Australian, I am somewhat desensitized to the fact that friendly countries impose tariffs on our exports for trivial reasons. The European Union does this more than the United States. I will purchase products that I desire. If I begin to boycott products based on national origin, I will start with the Gulf states. Story 16. Late but welcome. It's about time we look at what we consume. Boycotting many products will train the average customer to consume responsibly. Canada introduced a great way to recognize boycotted products by turning them upside down, effectively sending a "beware of this product" message to the next customer. Story 17. I do not support traders. It started with Pepsi when they refused to withdraw from Russia. The only product I may consider buying in the coming years is an Apple iPhone, as they appear to be taking a stand. Supporting any resistance is important. The rest can be disregarded. Story 18. I'm all for it. It's not much of a hindrance to me. I just need to stop eating at McDonald's and drinking soda. The only way to make Americans wake up is to impact their finances. All they care about is money. They have no values or beliefs. As soon as they start earning less, they'll be angry. They became an independent country over a tax increase. Story 19. I have started to replace some American products, but it is very difficult to boycott completely. I am still using some technology and software for work, as it is impractical to stop using everything. Story 20. As a Canadian, I prioritize buying Canadian products first. However, since we have a free trade agreement with most European countries, I have been open to purchasing many European items when I cannot find a Canadian equivalent. The same goes for products from Mexico. It has actually become much easier. The fruits from the United States were not selling at my local grocery store, so they switched to fruits from Spain. It is interesting. I prefer not to buy food from the United States due to their annexation threats. Since many other Canadians feel the same way, the quality of their food has noticeably become less fresh than that of non-US alternatives. Story 21. It's a process we should start even if the United States had not gone completely crazy. From a sustainability perspective, it makes sense, and even from a long-term global economic perspective. Now, this might sound awfully similar to certain political rhetoric. The significant difference here is that there should be cooperation across borders, and the attitude should be global. Think globally, act locally. Unnecessary logistics make no sense whatsoever. Cooperation can occur without a physical import-export relationship. The global society needs to return to local production where possible for many reasons. Nationalism is not one of them and should be removed from the equation. It's not only what you do, but also how you do it. Story 22. I have always supported this, but I think it's crazy that it has taken some American politician to make it more widespread. We have gone through decades of having our manufacturing bought out from under us by Far Eastern competitors. We should be supporting our national industries. Story 23. Heavily influenced by companies and countries with specific interests, regardless of your personal feelings. Story 24. Sticking it to Trump is one thing, but we in the UK should buy more locally. It's surprising that in the UK we are receiving vegetables from New Zealand, which creates a significant effort and carbon footprint. Story 25. I have never heard of it. I still think of European products as superior to ours, though I'm sure there are notable exceptions and people from there can name several. I believe a lot of people, whether American or otherwise, should try to spend money locally whenever possible. Something that has always stuck with me is that when you buy from a local business, you're helping to pay for a child's braces or to send a child to summer camp. If you buy from a corporation, you're just padding shareholders' pockets. I don't know if the buy local movement is popular outside the United States. I do know the United States has a lot of national and global corporations, and many of them produce good and high-quality products. I love my Apple devices, for example, but I try to buy locally whenever I can. I believe this is a great idea outside of America as well. If you're overseas and can support your local economy, I think you should do that. I don't believe American global corporations need your support. As an American myself, you aren't harming me by buying locally. You're not making America worse off. You're making your area better. And that's what we need. We need America's current allies, as well as past and future allies, to be less dependent on the United States. Allies should be able to stand alone while benefiting from working together. No, I didn't vote for the previous president. I voted for the other candidate. Not that I think either of them cares about me or you, or anyone we know personally. I believe they are all in it for themselves, and your leaders are not much better, though I will concede that just about anyone is better than the former president and his pet rodent. Maybe not every leader, but those in the European Union are likely much better, or at least more normal. They are probably still in it for themselves, though. Still, keep your money local. Story 26. I am behind it, but realistically, it is not easy. Giving up American food, American cars, most electronics, and appliances is not a problem. However, American software. In my line of work, it is all Autodesk, Adobe, Microsoft, and Bentley. We invested a lot of money in licenses and training, and besides, the European alternatives, apart from Nemetschek perhaps, when they exist, are not on par in terms of performance. Even now, I am writing this on my iPad, which is tied to my Gmail account, like my Android phone. I bought that on Amazon and use it to watch Netflix, Paramount, and Disney. So yes, I am not going to buy a Tesla or drink Coca-Cola, but some things are incredibly hard to replace. Story 27. It depends. Is this a question for Americans or people outside the United States? As someone who lives in the United States, I want to support small businesses because many of them did not vote for this and are suffering as much as everyone else. For those outside the United States, I support this. Story 28. Largely misses the point. Small actions like this make people feel they are making a difference, preventing them from actually doing it. It's similar to companies offsetting emissions by purchasing green credits. If you truly want to have an impact, establish a company to compete with the United States alternative. The European Union should create an environment where this is feasible and easier. If that occurred, people would naturally choose the company because it's better, not just because of its origin, and that would genuinely challenge the United States. Story 29. Oh, definitely. I have canceled all subscriptions to American companies and sold all the American products I own. I have not bought any US products for a while now. It is very easy to find alternatives, and they are often better. Most people I know are doing the same. While Reddit and YouTube are American platforms, all ads are blocked, so using them is just a strain. Their regime is not to be trusted politically or militarily. Hopefully, their troops will be removed soon, and all military deals will be cancelled. Portugal recently cancelled its F-35 purchase plan, which is indicative of the times and what is yet to come. Regarding regular consumer goods like food and drinks, European products are clearly of much higher quality across the board. When it comes to technology, it is slightly more complicated. For smartphones, the best option is to buy a used Google Pixel and install Graphene OS on it, avoiding any US online or cloud services. Instead, use self-hosted alternatives like KeePass, Bitwarden, Ent, Image, Postio, and ProtonMail. This way, you have a privacy-friendly, secure, open-source smartphone with full independence. Since the device is secondhand, no money goes directly to the USA or Google. If privacy is not a concern for you, then just use Samsung. For gaming, consider PlayStation and Nintendo. It's all manageable, and freeing yourself feels great. Every little step counts. Do what you can. Story 30. In Greece, most people buy the cheapest products from their supermarket, which are primarily Greek or European. As for American software or electronics, the only item not affected by this trend is the iPhone. Everything else is. Story 31. I am actively trying to boycott American goods in the United Kingdom. It's very difficult because so many products are US-owned, but I feel like I am doing my part by canceling Amazon, Netflix, and checking the origin of products before purchasing. Food isn't really an issue, thankfully. Story 32. I have always tried to buy locally produced food and am now looking to expand that to other products. Therefore, I support this initiative. Story 33. I support it, but as a British citizen, it's a bit disappointing that it is not Buy from Europe. We remain connected with the rest of Europe and Canada and are astonished by the behavior of the United States. I hope we eventually rejoin the European Free Trade Association or the European Economic Area in the near future. Story 34. I support it. What is the point in giving my money to companies and a country that is a threat to other European countries and, by extension, my own? It is unreliable and can leave me without service at any moment due to the whims of a cruel and irresponsible individual. Story 35. With the heavy reliance on Microsoft, Apple, and Google by both governments and companies, this is the only reasonable approach. No one can predict when a US president, like Trump, might create conflict and prohibit US companies from providing their services or products in the European Union. The argument that it would harm the US more than Europe is not valid. It would severely impact many areas of the EU, and Trump has shown multiple times that he is indifferent to these consequences. Story 36. Buy Canadian. Not only is Trump imposing tariffs on us, but he is also threatening to annex us. We need your support to help us acquire weapons. However, we will likely purchase them from you, so it will all work out. Story 37. There is no buy from EU movement. It is just a vocal minority trying to gain social media followers. Most people do not care where products come from. They buy what they want and can afford and move on. Life is too short to worry about it. Many of the individuals supporting movements like this use devices like iPhones and are unaware of the negative aspects of companies like Apple. Let the misguided remain misguided. Story 38. We are acting immaturely, similar to children upset with their parents. For years, we maintained the moral high ground and criticized the United States for their warmongering and influence around the world. We relied on them for protection while neglecting our own military. Then, when Trump expresses his consistent views, we react with outrage and claim we are no longer their friends. We should be grateful to him, not the other way around. I am especially disappointed for Germany, my home. Story 39. I have been buying local products lately and no longer focus on websites like Massdrop, which used to be the only site I checked monthly for interesting items in the electronics department. However, I am planning to buy a Chinese car because European car brands refuse to manufacture affordable family cars and continue to produce overpriced SUVs. Renault is finally making progress with the Renault 5 and possibly the 4 in the future, but prices are still high. Story 40. I support American companies that stand up against this issue when there is no good European Union alternative yet. Story 41. Should be the movement to minimize buying from the United States. It can be hard to find products that haven't had any inputs from the United States at any stage. The United States should stop asking everyone for help, let alone for allegiance, when they want a world where nobody is a good neighbor. Story 42. I support it completely. I strongly oppose anyone who voted for this situation. Additionally, business decisions are often based on long-term stability and cooperation, and it is clear that the United States cannot provide any guarantees in that regard. Story 43. The irony of asking this question on Reddit. I am still waiting for all the boycotters to move to Ask Lemmy, which has 30,000 total subscribers, and continue the discussion there. Story 44. As an American, I don't know what is made in the European Union other than cars. If my experience with European Union cars reflects the quality of other products from the European Union, then I will be passing on the Buy from EU movement. Story 45. As an American, I truly do not care if other countries are buying American goods. I will continue to purchase what I normally buy. I don't even look at the price of gas anymore. What's the point? I have to get it anyway. However, I believe that if you choose to boycott American goods, you should maintain that same attitude when seeking American support in some way. Story 46. As an American, is anything we buy made in the European Union? I expect that far less than 10% of our imported goods are made there. Story 47. As Canadians, we need to completely restructure our supply chains, and I hope you will do the same and purchase some of our products that you require for manufacturing. Story 48. I fully support this. The United States under Trump is neither a partner nor a friend. We have to sit this out. If their democracy survives those 4 years and sanity returns to the White House, we can collect the shattered pieces of our friendship and negotiate how life should go on. For now, we must view the United States at best as competition and, at worst, as an enemy if they end up attacking Denmark. Story 49. As an American, I support it. I did not vote for this individual, and hopefully this will teach Americans on the right how wrong they are, but I doubt it. It will take generations to fix what is being damaged right now. Story 50. I understand the sentiment, but I do not agree with it. There is no reason for us Europeans to sour the relationship more than necessary. Story 51. I believe it is a double-edged sword. It is necessary to stand up against American bullying, no doubt about that. However, I see a certain risk that using and nurturing the mechanisms of nationalism can overreach. How can we stop Buy from the European Union from becoming Buy from France or Buy from Germany, thereby weakening the Union? How can we prevent far-right parties in various European countries from leveraging this momentum? It was only 10 years ago that Britain left the Union, lured by nationalist propaganda. Consider the Nazi boycott of Jewish businesses. It began with "Don't buy from Jews," evolved into "Buy only German products from Germans." And the rest is history. People are susceptible to this way of thinking, as seen 80 years ago in Germany and today in the United States. Europe is certainly not immune to that. Story 52. Unless Europe is going to take economic sovereignty seriously, it is a waste of time. By serious, I mean we need our own technology industry. We should remove all American technology companies from European markets and replace them with homegrown alternatives. The same applies to chip manufacturing, smartphones, computers, and everything else. Without that, such a movement is futile. Story 53. That would have been good if European countries had not sent the majority of their industries to low-income countries. However, doing it now as a reaction to the Trump administration is unwise. It could have been done much earlier. Story 54. On one hand, it will prompt United States politicians to reconsider all the decisions they have made lately. But who will this movement really affect? Trump and Elon Musk? Of course not. It will only affect the average working person. We could see workers losing their jobs and small to mid-sized store owners closing their businesses. Story 55. I work in international trade, and honestly, the Buy from EU movement has good intentions, but it is making my job a nightmare. The paperwork has tripled since it gained momentum, and some of my clients are struggling with the higher costs. Supporting local economies is great, but we need to consider the bigger picture. Story 56. It's a good idea in theory, but really unlikely in practice. Food, clothes, and other goods are easy to find alternatives for. Technology is not as simple, but there are always options in Asia. The internet and software can be challenging. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.